Welcome, humans, and any celestial body else out there listening. This is Curious Minds, Infinite Answers. I'm your host, Courtney Christine Cosco. This podcast, simply put, is a mix of human curiosity and how, with the help of AI technology, curious minds can get the answers we seek. Let's get mind-bending and plunge deep beneath the surface of our everyday thoughts. Let's begin. Hello, and welcome back to Curious Minds, Infinite Answers. I've always been fascinated by the human brain. No, not that fascinated. More like what humans are capable of when they put their mind to something. From genius-level intellect to peak athletic performance, it's incredible how far we can push ourselves. Now, for as many years as I can recall, I've always believed the claim that we humans only use about 10% of our brain. So what's up with the other 90%? Well, if you're not today years old learning this for the first time like me, then congratulations. You kept up with science advancements in neuroscience over the years. Alas, for the rest of us, I'm here for you. We've all heard it, right? The claim that we only use 10% of our brain? It's a compelling idea. After all, who wouldn't want to imagine the potential of unlocking some hidden, untapped brain powers? But the truth is, according to neuroscience experts, like those at the MIT McGovern Institute, this idea is in fact, Band-Aid ripping off, a complete myth. I know, right? All these years. In reality, we use our entire brain, though not all at once, and it's constantly working, even when we're sleeping. Don't be too bummed. Just because we may not one day be able to finally uncover a way to use our brains to do crazy and unimaginable things like channel all our energy to finally fly or see through walls, our brains are still a pretty fascinating 3 pounds of gelatinous substance and water weight up there. A modern description of the brain says it functions as a distributed information processing system, similar to a computer, with distinct components wired together through a network of neurons and synapses. Each component has specialized roles. Some process sensory information like colors, shapes, or sounds, while others handle movement, such as muscle activation and coordination. Additionally, certain regions integrate information from multiple senses to perform more complex tasks, including planning, decision-making, and constructing self-narratives or personal identity. These various regions process information in unique ways, leading to different patterns of activity across the brain. Kind of like different departments in a busy office. Some crunch numbers, some handle creative projects, and others manage logistics. And just like in that office, the way these departments work creates unique activity patterns that keep everything running smoothly, from your thoughts to your movements. Moving on. I wanted to know where the myth that we only use 10% of our brains actually came from. So I rewound to the early 20th century. Back then, scientists observed that people with damage to certain parts of their brain didn't always show immediate or noticeable deficits. Instead, when scientists observed that in some cases people with damage to certain areas of their brain didn't show immediate or noticeable problems in their abilities, like thinking, moving, or speaking, this led to the incorrect assumption that those areas of the brain were simply unused or non-essential. Kind of like how we live without our tonsils and our appendix. But actually, just kidding, because apparently research suggests that the appendix may have important roles like, nah, you can look it up. Gotta keep the mystery alive. But don't worry, you can live without it, but it's not as useless as we once thought. Anyway, many others attribute the 10% brain usage myth to misquoted statements by psychologists. One in particular, a William James, prominent psychologist and philosopher who once made statements suggesting that humans only use a small portion of their potential. He wasn't talking specifically about the brain function. He was talking about the capabilities people have in terms of creativity, productivity, or personal growth. For example, someone might be capable of achieving great things but not fully tapping into their talents or drive. And like the wonderful childhood game Telephone, over time, his ideas were misinterpreted or misquoted. People actually confused potential with brain damage, leading to the false belief that we only use 10% of our brains instead of understanding that James was referring to untapped personal abilities rather than literal brain activity. This little misunderstanding snowballed and became a popular myth, perpetuated by media, books, and even movies. like the Scarlett Johansson movie Lucy, or Bradley Cooper in Limitless, both excellent flicks, by the way, in my opinion. Now let's fast forward to modern science. Thanks to brain imaging techniques like fMRI and PET scans, they have very much debunked the myth. These scans show that even during simple tasks like sitting quietly or thinking about your grocery list, that multiple areas of the brain are active. Even the silent regions, once thought to be unused, are now known to play crucial roles, like connecting different parts of the brain or regulating subconscious processes. But keep in mind, pun wildly intended, while the entire brain is active at some point, we don't use all of it simultaneously as one might imagine. That would be like trying to run every app on your phone at once. It's just not how the system is designed to work. Instead, the brain operates with incredible efficiency, allocating resources based on what's needed at any given moment. What we now understand is that the brain is incredibly complex and often compensates for damage. Neighboring areas or different regions can sometimes take over functions, which might explain why deficits weren't always obvious at first. This adaptability is part of the way the brain adjusts and changes its structure and function in response to internal or external stimuli. This can include learning new things, recovering from injuries, or enhancing existing cognitive abilities. So, if we're already using our whole brain, and scientists believe that we're now reaching peak brain evolution, time will tell, what about the idea of enhancing its capabilities? This is where things get a bit more exciting. In recent years, researchers have turned their attention to psychedelics like psilocybin, the stuff found in magic mushrooms, you know the ones, and LSD, a synthetic chemical made from a substance found in ergot, which is a fungus that infects rye or grain. These substances are able to interact with the brain's serotonin receptors, causing a cascade of changes in neural activity. Studies have shown that psychedelics can enhance neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural connections without even leaving the comfort of your own home. This plasticity might explain why people who take psychedelics often report profound shifts in perspective, heightened creativity, and even improved mental health. Not to over-explain here, but I really want to kind of dig into this real quick before moving forward so that people from all walks and opinions better understand what science is attempting to do for humanity and how the potential for positive, lasting effects for those that suffer mentally may be closer than we think. Okay, so yes, psychedelics like LSD and psilocybin are considered good for the brain. I know they've had an especially controversial reputation. Well, under the right conditions, and for the sake of the more you know, they actually work, as many studies have already proven, and in fascinating ways that could really benefit those suffering with mental health disorders. Let me explain. First, both LSD and psilocybin help the brain become more flexible. They promote the brain forming new connections. This is huge for people stuck in negative thought patterns, like those with depression and anxiety, because it can help break them free from those mental loops. They also increase connectivity between different parts of the brain. Think of it like opening up new pathways that, while always on, don't usually talk to each other. This helps people see problems or emotions in completely new ways, leading to those aha moments, or dare I say, emotional breakthroughs. These two substances also affect something called the default mode network. This is the part of your brain that's always running in the background, like when you're overthinking or stuck in self-doubt. Both LSD and psilocybin calm this down, which can lead to a sense of freedom, clarity, and even feeling deeply connected to the world around you. And the best part, these effects don't just happen while the person is, well, for a lack of a better way to put it, tripping. Studies show that these substances can reduce symptoms of depression, PTSD, and even addiction, sometimes lasting weeks or months after just one guided session. Of course, it's not magic. These substances need to be used in a safe, controlled setting with professionals. But when done right, they can help people process trauma, shift their mindset, and find peace in ways that traditional therapy sometimes can't. The bottom line? LSD and psilocybin don't unlock hidden parts of your brain. They help your brain simply work better, making it more connected, open, and capable of growth. Pretty incredible, right? I, for one, will be very curious to follow the evolution of these types of therapy. Now, if psychedelics make you feel a bit too uneasy, let's pivot to something a little more accessible. Meditation is another practice that's been shown to influence brain function. Regular, we'll call them meditators, often exhibit changes in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for decision-making, attention, and self-awareness. These changes aren't temporary either. Long-term meditation can actually reshape the brain structure, improving focus and emotional regulation. Meditation can be challenging, especially when starting out, but it's a skill that improves with time and consistency. And if you're up for it, here are some tips for free to make the practice easier and more enjoyable. Number 1, start small and be realistic. Begin with just 2 to 5 minutes a day. You don't have to commit to long sessions right away. Short, consistent practice is more effective than long, sporadic attempts. Number 2, find a comfortable position. You don't have to sit cross-legged on the floor. Sit in a chair, lie down, or even stand if that's more comfortable. The key is to keep your body relaxed, but your posture alert, so you stay engaged without falling asleep. Of course, if you need to rest, you go on ahead and embrace that rest. Number 3, focus on breath. Breathing is a natural anchor. Simply notice your breath as it flows in and out. You can silently say in as you inhale and out as you exhale. If your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring your attention back to your breath without judgment. Number 4, use guided meditations. Beginners often find guided meditations helpful. Apps like Headspace, Calm, or you could always subscribe to Meditate, Elevate, meditations newly uploaded to my YouTube page, voiced by yours truly. Short, calming, and restorative guided meditations that are great for anyone on their meditating journey. I know, shameless plug, I'm sorry. Number 5, practice in everyday moments. Meditation doesn't always have to be formal. You can practice mindfulness during everyday tasks like washing dishes, walking, or eating. Pay attention to the sensations, smells, or sounds around you to bring yourself into the present moment. Number 6, and I promise there's only a couple more. Embrace imperfection. Meditation isn't about clearing your mind. It's normal for thoughts to pop up. The practice is in noticing those thoughts and gently returning your focus to your anchor, like the breath. Treat wandering thoughts as part of the process, not as failure. Number 7, set a ritual. Meditate at the same time each day to build a habit. It could be right after waking up, during a lunch break, or before bed. Create a calming space for your practice, even if it's just a quiet corner with a cushion or chair. Number 8, be patient with yourself. Meditation is a journey. The benefits often come gradually, and the key is to stick with it. Remember, even a few seconds of focus in a session is progress. Meditation is about showing up and just making space for stillness, even if it's messy at first. With time and practice, it can become a tool for clarity, calm, connection, and inner peace. Now we pivot. Technology and the brain. Brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, are an emerging field that could redefine human capabilities. These devices allow direct communication between the brain and external technology. For example, BCIs have been used to help people with paralysis regain control of prosthetic limbs or even type using only their thoughts. You may have heard of Neuralink, Elon Musk's groundbreaking project. Disclaimer, I am not in any way in support of or not in support of Neuralink. I'm Switzerland. And a disclaimer. I think technology is cool, especially when used for good and it helps people. However, it's super important for us all to understand the technology that is arriving at a very fast pace and will soon be a part of our everyday lives, whether we support it or not. Having the knowledge and understanding of such technology better empowers our decision-making in how we decide to coexist with it. So with that being said, at their core, BCIs and Neuralink are similar in idea. Creating a direct connection between the brain and technology. Being able to control a computer, a robotic arm, or even your phone just by thinking about it could very well become a possibility. That's the magic both of these technologies are working toward. They're similar in the sense that both BCIs and Neuralink take the electrical signals your brain naturally produces and translates them into commands for external devices. For example, someone who can't use their arms might be able to move a prosthetic hand just by thinking about it. It's like your brain sending a text message to the machine saying, "Grab that cup." Now, Neuralink takes it up a notch. Most traditional BCIs use things like EEG caps, those funny-looking hats with wires that sit on your head, or larger implants that aren't as precise. Neuralink, on the other hand, is designed to be implanted directly into the brain with tiny, flexible electrodes. These electrodes are so small and precise that they can read brain activity much more clearly and even stimulate specific areas of the brain. Neuralink is also wireless. Traditional BCIs often need bulky equipment to connect to computers, but Neuralink's implants send signals wirelessly. And while both BCIs and Neuralink are being developed to help people with disabilities, like restoring movement or communication for those with paralysis, Neuralink has some bold goals for the future. Elon Musk has talked about using it to improve memory, speed up learning, or even allow people to communicate directly, brain to brain. Imagine skipping the phone call and just thinking your message to someone else. Wild, right? I mean, you might have to be in a certain radius of that person, but still. Allegedly, Neuralink isn't here to replace BCIs. It's just an evolution of the same idea, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But for now, both are making huge strides in helping people regain abilities they've lost and exploring what it might mean to enhance human potential in the future. So where does this leave us? The idea of unlocking the brain's full potential may be a myth, but enhancing its capabilities is very real, and the possibilities are just beginning to unfold. While Neuralink aims to create seamless brain-to-digital interfaces, enabling possibilities like telepathic communication and memory uploads, there's also companies like CRISPR, gene editing technology, that's already being used to modify DNA. And while ethical concerns abound, the potential to enhance brain function through genetic engineering is being explored. Finally, there's artificial intelligence. AI could play a major role in augmenting human intelligence. Tools like ChatGPT are just the beginning of how AI could collaborate with human brains, providing instant access to knowledge, insights, and problem-solving capabilities. The fact that we're just scratching the surface of this technology is both scary and fascinating. Speaking of potential, let's take a look at individuals who seem to possess extraordinary brain power, all natural. While these abilities aren't the result of unlocking unused brain areas, they do highlight the brain's incredible adaptability. Savant syndrome is a rare condition where individuals with developmental disorders exhibit extraordinary abilities, often in math, music, or art. These abilities are believed to arise from unique patterns of brain connectivity. For example, some savants can perform complex mathematical calculations instantly or recall detailed memories from decades ago. Neuroscientists are studying these cases to understand how these abilities emerge and whether they can be replicated. Hyperthymesia, I hope I said that right, is a condition where individuals have an extraordinary autobiographical memory. People with hyperthymesia can recall nearly every day of their lives in vivid detail. While this ability may sound like the ultimate gift, it also comes with challenges, like being unable to forget painful memories. Lastly, the flow state. You've probably heard of the flow state, that feeling of being so immersed in a task that everything else fades away. Athletes, artists, performers, and I'm sure some supermoms out there often describe this as a peak experience. Neuroscientists believe flow occurs when the brain strikes a perfect balance between high focus and low self-consciousness, allowing for optimal performance. Let's take a step back now. If we could somehow enhance our brains to their fullest capacity, would we even want to? Could superhuman intelligence or memory come at the cost of our humanity? After all, part of what makes life this beautiful mess we love and hate, but mostly love so much, is its imperfections, its unpredictability, and the mystery of not knowing everything. Yes, the frustrating and somehow romantic stuff of life. Perhaps the ultimate takeaway is this. Rather than unlocking mythical, unused portions of the brain, we might consider what we're already capable of. Sometimes this consideration requires us to be alone and embrace that alone time as something very powerful. Because when you're actually able to sit in your own sober thoughts with yourself, a lot can come up. This is by choice, mind you, not by despair. And when you sit and you learn and understand yourself, you will find a strength and freedom that no one can take away. And with that, have the potential to be an utterly unstoppable human on this earth. not bending to expectations of society or relying on the validation of others. So I'm learning. Through meditation, mindfulness, curiosity, and connection, we can harness the immense power of our minds, not for superhuman abilities, but to live more fully, love more deeply, and create a better world. Now go hydrate that beautiful brain of yours, all 100% of it. Thanks for tuning into this exploration of the human brain. I know there's a ton we didn't cover, and maybe even more drugs you wanted to talk about, but that'll be for another episode. If you've enjoyed this episode, let me know. Reach out on social media or drop me a message. And if this conversation has sparked any new ideas or questions for you, I'd love to hear them. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and always keep exploring the vast potential of your mind. Thank you for tuning in to Curious Minds, Infinite Answers. I'm Courtney Christine Koskin, and I hope you'll join me for next week's episode as we proceed down the path of curiosity and discovery, uncovering various topics along the way. If you have any comments or want answers to your burning curiosities, drop me a line in the comments below. Until we meet again, find the good in the world, and if you can't find it, be the good.